the waiting room. But I want to say we are so excited to have everyone here today for our latest career coach, which is The Confessions of a Headhunter by Diane Fennig. So we are again so excited and welcoming everyone as they come in from the waiting room. My name is Alexia Brewster. If you don't know me, I work for Forte on the professional team. So I am a program manager. So basically, I help coordinate a lot of our webinar series here at Forte, just to make sure that everyone's getting really good, relevant content that relates to their work situation. And again, for those that are just joining, today's series is our career coach series. And the topic of today is going to be Confessions of a Headhunter. So it should be a lot of really good information, especially if you're in the job search process, that Diane is going to be able to share with you all here today. And with that, I just want to give a little bit of a bio or intro of who Diane is because she did update her bio recently. So I just want to mention that Diane is a passionate connector at the intersection of opportunities and talent. And her career foundation really has been associated with universities and higher education systems for over 30 years. And since 2009, Diane has served the Human Capital Group, Gallagher Executive Search, and now most recently, she's in the Bufkin and Baker team. So again, a huge welcome to Diane. We're really excited to have you here today. And I'm going to have her take it away. But what we're first going to do actually is start with a poll.
Yes,
So if you all
please.
can, I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll. So please go ahead and answer these questions that are on your screen now.
It's a simple question today, yes or no?
All right, we're going to give people a couple more moments to answer yes, no. Especially since I know we have a couple more people coming in from the waiting room as well. So please go ahead, if you can, answer the poll question, which should appear on your screen right now. We only have one question today, and it's just meant to kind of set the tone for today's presentation. All right. Okay, so I'm going to give everyone about 10 more seconds to answer, and then I'll officially end the poll. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, and I'll share the results with everybody so we can see.
So we've got, wow, 2575. That's helpful. Helpful to know who the audience is. All right, I'm going to close that. Thank you, Alexia. We've got this. I'm going to go ahead and do my slideshow. I love this picture. Someone shared it with me once, and it just makes me smile. But if any of you know me, the least thing that I am is this person in front of you. Why would I chop off a head and deliver it to you as a headhunter? Of course, if I did, it would be on a big silver platter. By definition, there's two definitions of headhunting: the practice of literally taking a person's head off after killing them, or an informal name for an employment recruiter. Again, the only way I do this is if there was a silver platter for me to poach someone's head. But let me help you understand kind of the role of executive search from two perspectives, from the employer's perspective and then from the candidate's perspective. There's going to be ample time today for folks to ask specific questions because I always get a lot of questions about what and how to do this. First off, from the employer side, people always ask me, why does someone hire you? Generally, an employer hires me or hires our firm when there's a difficult role that they're trying to fill. Maybe they've attempted this role one or two times and haven't found the right candidates. Then they hand the search over to us to say, let's see if you can be successful. Or they've got internal candidates that bring diverse experiences and they want to vet those candidates against the market. And so sometimes people think it's easier if I get a search firm in to do this vetting when there are internal folks versus just using our own human resource group. So that's a time that I often will get called in. Know that employers really expect this to be a quick and thorough process. maybe their HR team is, underwater at the moment and can't give this search the attention they're looking for. So they reach out to us to say, we need faster results than my HR team can deliver. So know that that might be why we're hired. In my case, I only do retained search, which means I'm the exclusive firm looking for that opportunity. So there's also contingent firms, and you might work with someone. You have to figure out if you're working with someone who's a retained firm or a contingent firm. Contingent firms are looking to find candidates quickly for an employer, but the first firm with the candidate of interest to that employer wins, is rewarded with that placement. So they work fast as well, but they work differently because they're all about quickly making sure this is going to work. But I solely do retain search. So again, employers hire me. Once again, employers hire me. You as a candidate do not hire me. There's no fee affiliated with a retained executive search. The employer hires our group to conduct the search. So that's the employer perspective of why people get involved in search. From the candidate perspective, first thing, you've got to be resume ready. And I want it to be consistent with LinkedIn because often I start my review in LinkedIn. And then if your resume comes in and they're inconsistent, that puts me in a really bad spot. So I do want those two pieces to be consistent. And I want you to be willing to share that immediately. Also, your references. Again, because this is going to be a faster turnaround, I need to know who your references are. And I'm also going to have you consider references that are not necessarily someone you're currently working for in your organization. Because your hiring manager, and sometimes that's not a relationship that you want to breach. And so if that's not someone you want me to talk to, who else is available to speak on your behalf? Someone who's left your organization recently, that would be a solid reference. Maybe one of your teammates that you trust, that could be a reference. Help me know who I can reach out to. The timetables are going to be abbreviated. Many candidates are like, why is this moving so fast? It's like you don't trust it. But you need to understand that that's part of why we're hired, is to bring quick results. And I tell people all the time, you want to have these discussions early about what are your non-negotiables and what salary range are you talking about. If you don't know that, you need to ask those questions up front, from a candidate perspective when you're dealing with search. Figuring out, again, because people want to see this search kind of move quickly. They're also going to expect start dates to be pretty, soon after an offer is made. That might be 2 weeks or 4 weeks out. But just know that those are kind of the things people are going to be thinking about, is making quick turnaround decisions. So important for you, if they are not having discussions early about salary and negotiables, that you bring that up as well. Then miscellaneous things. I always tell folks, be careful of confidential searches. So what that is I'm looking for somebody, but I won't tell you who the organization is. In the back of your head, never forget this. Wait a second. They're not having the hard conversations. So the person is going to be replaced, and they have no idea they're going to be replaced, which is why it's all confidential. I always tell people, keep that in the back of your head. Is that an organization that you want to work with? There are some reasons why you have to do confidential searches, but I'd rather it be upfront so that you know what you're getting yourself into. I want you to ask the question, why is this position available? If I come to you and talk to you about this great opportunity, you need to be able to ask and feel confident in the answer I give about why the position is available and a little bit more about the style of the hiring manager. These are really important. Again, the turnaround is going to be fast. Salary discussions, don't wait. If the range is too big, ask, all right, what kind of experiences are you looking for this part of the range versus this? Get that, so that you have a good head on and a good decision to make if this salary is worth worth something you're interested in pursuing. Clarify these days where this work will be done. I regret that we can't work remotely as we have been in the past. And so right now, people make assumptions on remote work. Clarify upfront, where is this work going to be done? And as a recruiter, I should be helping you know that. And then my final comment is, should I hire my own headhunter? And my answer is no. People are like, wait a second, Diane, you just said no. I as a headhunter, as a recruiter, don't hire me if I do executive search. Don't give me money to do a search on your behalf. Lawyers would represent you, but when I do executive search, I don't represent candidates, I represent the employer. The employer is my contract. That's how I am paid. So I'm not going to suggest that you hire your own headhunter because number one, they're going to send you to job postings. They're going to send you to interviews that are probably not what you're looking for, but they're going to want to get paid because they have sent you places. So I'm always really careful on paying anybody to do this work. Carry on. Again, the slides on this one are slight. I want to give people opportunities to ask questions in the process. Only 25% of you have worked with headhunters. The rest of you, this is all brand new. Right now, there's so many people that are without work. I'm hearing from folks daily of, things are not going the direction they thought within their organization. How do I help you? What do I do? I will keep connections in LinkedIn. When I'm doing a search, I will reach out to people within my LinkedIn community that look like the person I'm looking for instead of posting those on my LinkedIn. When I post them, everybody applies, and that's not the way I want to do it. So I do it more of who within my LinkedIn group meets this criteria, and I often will share that from there. So with that, Alexia, I always encourage people, this is time for lots of questions, and we look forward to this.
Yes, definitely. And we do already have questions coming in, which is awesome. That's what we were hoping for. As Diane mentioned, we're trying to just leave a lot of space for everybody to be able to ask their questions. Because we're very aware of like the current climate with unemployment happening right now. And so we want to give you the chance to really make sure that you're going to leave here today with a better understanding of like headhunting and stuff like that. So the first question, and even I'm curious about this as well, Diane, is how do I go about finding someone to work with or like a firm specifically?
So again, the way our firm works, you can submit resumes, but that's not where we go. We do research. So when we're looking for somebody, we go out there and do our research about who has the background we're looking for and how do we find those folks. And oftentimes it's through associations. Sometimes it's through LinkedIn that we can do some of these searches. But again, don't think you're going to hire me to say, I want you to represent me. A lawyer does that, and I am not a lawyer.
Mhm.
So again, important that people get out there. Your LinkedIn profile is one that I can find you, making certain that you're in the right kind of career bucket of what kind of work you're looking for. Make sure that opening billboard within LinkedIn tells me what you want to do next. People always say, should I use that open for work with the green banner? I think my answers changed. When it first came out, I didn't like it. And now I'm like, you know what? There are so many people without work. Let me know what's going on. Help me know your story. And that might be in your about section. Through no fault of my own, I was subject to a rift within our organization, helping people know why you're looking for work. And people want to know that honesty. They want that candor.
Yeah. And this kind of leads into the next question I want to bring up is like, how do you get noticed on LinkedIn for a headhunter to find you? And you kind of mentioned some things with like the about section, but is there anything else you want to expand upon
Make
that you
certain that
specifically look?
I'm sorry about that. Make
Mhm.
certain that your LinkedIn profile reflects your degree and the things that you want to do. So we can look at people by accounting and CPA, but if you don't want to do that, make certain that you are, and you want to get more into the finance side of the house, make sure that that's the bucket you put yourself in LinkedIn. We might still want that CPA credential. I can find you by that, but then let's also look at what are your career interests. Go back to your LinkedIn. You probably set it up years ago. Make certain that it represents you well. So that's what I always tell people. Just make sure that you can use that resource. Right now, we're having to go back to location. So make sure your location is a part of LinkedIn. If someone needs to be in office 4 days a week, you're going to have to be in the metro Atlanta area if you're working with me, since that's where I'm headquartered. So I can't have you in California. Not going to work because 4 days of the week you got to be here. How are we going to do that? So that's where we're going back to geography more than for a while though we didn't even bother with geography. Now we're having to bring that back in.
Yeah, that's thanks for mentioning that because I think like again, a lot of people might still be looking for remote work and forget
Well,
there
no,
is
it's
an
not forget
opportunity.
it. There's still organizations that are
Yeah.
progressive that are doing it, but unfortunately, it's more than not. They're saying,
Yeah.
I want you to have a presence here.
Mhm.
But some are still saying, I need you to have a presence in house initially, but I will review that in 6 months of where you work. Okay, that's good. That's helpful. And then there's another set of problems you have to work through in your first few months of how do you stay in that remote location when that's not where you want to be permanently. Where I mean, because that
Yeah.
wherever headquarters are. Great, good questions. What else
Yeah.
you got?
And well, we have a ton more. So, one that I kind of want to ask, and it's kind of piecing together a couple of things that are themes that are popping up. So, we do have a couple of people who have a gap of work experience. So they may have been laid off for a pretty long time, and they're actively seeking, but it's just like not working the way that or going as quickly as they thought. And so, as a headhunter, when you see a gap like that, um, how do you perceive that?
The,
Um,
no, it's absolutely a great question. No shame in the gap. And let me tell you, we worked through those gaps through the pandemic, and we're back working through those gaps right now because we are realizing that it has taken so much longer because so many people have put things on pause.
Mhm.
So many organizations, people have been like finalists, and then everything's been paused. And people come back going, Diane, I'm embarrassed. I said, don't be embarrassed. This is the reality of where we are right now. And so, again, when you're telling me the story, you don't get emotional about it, but you say, I expected that I would be able to find work very quickly since I've never had this kind of pause across my career. However, the economy right now is not forgiving.
Mhm.
And I've been finalist for 3 searches, and none of them have come to fruition because everything's been paused. You just tell me that story. And we're, again, much more forgiving. And we were wonderfully forgiving in the pandemic. I think that's coming back.
Okay, yeah. And kind of like a follow-up, like, do you feel as a headhunter, are there things that people could be doing during that time that would kind of help elevate their situation? Or is it really like you're just understanding this is how it is and we're aware of the situation, if that makes sense?
We're aware of it. Some people have
Mhm.
been doing, some of the like mini micro courses
Mhm.
in AI and in Excel and things like that. That's not a bad thing to be doing, but make sure that you're focused on job search first. That you're still doing that, you're networking and things, the sort. And if people are struggling, and again, having a really frank conversation. My home is in Atlanta. I don't perceive leaving. So it has really been hard because now people are driving me back to an office. And so that's one of the reasons that I've pulled out of some searches, because the tide has shifted and now I need to be at that location, and that doesn't work anymore. So help people know why you're still in the market, because people have to be a little bit more selective right now with this call back to the office.
Yeah. And I think kind of expanding because this question's also come up in the chat a little bit as well. So some people mentioned like they may be based in Atlanta, but they are so open to moving to wherever. So like how would you signal that to a headhunter then? So even if they're like searching and you pop up as Atlanta based, but like you could take a job in DC and still be very okay with that.
So I would mention that in the about section.
Okay.
Okay, but so then, kind of with your when you set up your LinkedIn profile, it asks for what your what your city is, what your location is. Some people say you can put DC, but then I'm going, wait a second, all your stuff is in Atlanta. Are you in DC already? Where are you? So that's where you have to be able to tell the story consistently.
Yeah. Okay.
Because and because your resume, everything speaks really heavy to Atlanta, and then it's like you're saying DC. Help me know the why of DC. I did my graduate work there. I would love to go back to the city. I really enjoy it. I've got friends and family in DC. Help me know what the connection is. I like to send people where there's a connection. It just that I'm not just sending you there on your own. So I do like when there's a reason why people want to go to a certain location.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. Especially again, like as we're talking about like this transition to more and more places want you in person. And if you can relocate, the
Right.
about section, like just making sure everything is like in
Help me
order, if
know.
you will.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep. So a couple more questions coming in. So we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit. So kind of talking about specifically the firms. So how do firms do like more broad searches, or are they typically based on industry? Um, or does it's kind of a mixed
Every
experience?
organization does it differently. So the
Okay.
Buffkin Baker group that I'm working with now has a higher ed arm, but it also has an industry arm.
Okay.
So I mean, and again, the partners and the folks within do different work. So there are some firms that are really specific to kind of like, I'm going to pick out accounting. There's really specific to them. Yes, you probably want to be known by those organizations, but follow their protocol. Do they want you to just to drop a resume? That's great. You can drop that, but still be actively pursuing what the opportunities are. So many people like drop a resume and say, okay, I'm done. I'm like, no, 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 no. I still need you to be out there looking for where the jobs are, and what your connections are, and reaching out to people and saying, help me know about this opportunity at your organization. Give me a little bit about the culture, what's going on. And so many times the internal folks can give you a sense, we're at a pause here. They might say, it might be out there actively looking, but our whole organization's in a pause right now. That helps you as a job seeker know what to do next.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of a similar question to like the specific industries, and it might have a similar answer, is more about like the levels of positions you're looking for, like entry versus executive. Like what's common when you're thinking about like if you're fresh out of college or something like that, would that make
Yep.
sense to look at a
No,
headhunter, or would it
excellent,
is it for
excellent, excellent.
higher
No,
positions?
that's
Yeah.
given the fees that employers pay, most of the time an entry level role is not going to be used by search.
Okay.
It'd be just because the fees are too high to warrant that. But somebody might take on an entry or mid-level role because they're having a hard time finding that person. So I'm not saying that it's always a, absolute will not, but chances are it's going to be more on the, more experienced side that's going to be using search. But really unique roles. And when someone tells me they want someone with AI and 25 years of experience, I'm like, we haven't been doing AI that long, so you can't have that much experience. So stop already. Because people just have a number in their head. They're like, "This is what I want." Like, we haven't done that yet, not for that long. But again, in certain spaces, I'm seeing more people because it's such a unique space, to be seen, to be found. Professional associations, make sure you're kind of following who's your professional associations. Great place to know where the jobs are, who's who, making those connection points.
Mhm. Thank you for answering that. Yeah, because I know it's just interesting to think about like who should be using headhunters, if you will, or like search firms and things like that. So yeah, so thank you again so much for answering that. So the next question I want to bring up, and I do want to recognize we're about 5 minutes out, so we probably have time for one or two more questions. But so keep putting them in if you can, and then I know that you have Diane's LinkedIn here if you want to connect with her as well. But someone's kind of talking about their work experience. So, in the sense of, say, when you look at resumes and things like that, when you see someone who has a lot of short-term experiences, how do you think about that, if you will, versus someone who has employment at one place for a very long time? Like, does it matter to a lot of headhunters? How do you go about that process of determining who's in front of you and if they're a good fit for a specific role?
When you know the hiring manager and what they're looking for, and if they want that stability, it might be someone who's at the same organization. However, I like to hear from candidates, what's the story on this? And so often the candidate said, uh, through the pandemic, I had to piece things together. Again, they were so gracious throughout that whole scene. And I'm finding people are gracious again. People are offering a lot of grace. So I'm not, if I see someone who's 2 years here, 3 years here, 2 years here, 3 years here, that doesn't turn me off. I just want to know from you what happened. And how can you tell me the story of the why? Your experiences could be just as deep as someone who's in the same organization because they only know things from one perspective. So don't think that, wait a second, I don't have 25 years somewhere. I don't have 10 years somewhere. It's okay. Organizations have changed so much over these last 5 years. We got to say, wait a second, this could look different. But I do want to know and hear from you, what's your story? What happened? And again, no shame in this is what happened during COVID. I didn't expect to be let go, laid off, but I was. All right. And during that time, it took a lot to get back. So in that getting back, I did some consulting on the side in a part-time capacity. But here's some skills I learned that helped me bounce from there to here to here. Help me connect the dots.
Mhm. And a follow-up question is about more like we have a couple people who are talking about considering like career pivots. And so I feel like a lot of the advice you just gave for those who have like multiple jobs might kind of like cross over a little bit. But is there anything else so outside of like making sure they explain to you their situation, their story, why they want to move into a different career or industry, if you will, anything other good advice you would like to give people regarding that specifically?
Back to the about section of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Help me know the why of a pivot because I can make assumptions and I don't want to do that. But if I have something within your LinkedIn that helps me understand where you're moving to and why, and how your experiences have now strengthened this move to more of a right hand move versus a left hand move. Your career was going on this left path, and you're like, I really want to make this shift now, and here's why. I like seeing that within LinkedIn. Sometimes it's difficult because your current organization, you can't put all that out there because they'll see
Yep.
it. I can't keep them from seeing your LinkedIn profile. So that's where that part is the tough part. But in people's billboard on LinkedIn, they say, I'll do accounting, finance, and or sales. I'm like, what do I do? Circle the one I want? No, that's too broad. I need it to be narrowed down, and LinkedIn only allows you to kind of have one path, which is tough. So you have to figure out what's your real path, what's your real passion, where do you want to go?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for the advice for that. And I wish we could get to more questions because I do see like the Q&A box is full, but unfortunately we are at time. So I do want to respect everyone's time and your time as well, Diane. But clearly this is a topic that resonates with a lot of people. A lot of people are trying to figure out their next steps with their career. And again, I want to thank you, Diane, for spending time with our audience, for talking to them about really your area of expertise, to kind of get into more of like good tips and tricks for navigating the job market right now. Mhm.
I'm going to stop the share because
Yes. So I also have to share real quick. I want to share with everybody some upcoming events at Forte as well. So let me see here if it's working. Yep, working perfect. So in addition to Diane, she has a ton of career coaches that we always do. We have one coming up in May actually, but some more I guess coming up sooner. We have a Conquer Your Career that focuses on entrepreneurship. So again, this is focusing on a conversation around you want to start your own business. How do you go about doing that? So we have a panel for that specifically. So it's free for anyone to register, happening March 26th. For many of you, this might be really appealing as well. We actually have a virtual career fair with Forte, and it's going to be on April 3rd. So a lot of our corporate partners are participating in this. We're still working on the list of companies that are going to be a part of this, but typically it's around 15 to 20 companies that are here just to look for talent professionals seeking job opportunities. It is immediate hire positions, I want to mention. So if there are any current MBA students on the call today, it's not internship positions. So this again is for full-time immediate hires for professionals. And more information is on our website where you can register and things like that. And then the last webinar I want to mention or kind of like throw it out there for everybody is April 8th. We have a business essential. So if you're interested in learning more about social brand, highly recommend. We have a faculty member from USC Marshall School of Business who will be presenting on her area of research. So if you're interested in learning more specifically on social media and things like that, highly recommend registering today for that webinar as well. So I believe that's everything I have to share. So again, thank you everyone for being here. We're a little over time, so I appreciate you all still hanging out a little bit longer. And with that, I just want to wish everyone a great rest of the day. And if you need anything, definitely feel free to reach out to Forte. So thank you, everybody.
thank you, and connect if you'd like and ask the questions because this is a time we've got to have lots of answers and lots of support. Thank you as always. Thanks for batting back those questions. I love it.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
got it. I
Alexa.
got you. Don't worry.
I know you got my back.
Yes,
Appreciate
for
it.
sure.